Hello everyone, welcome to Analog IS Current Affair Analysis for 12th April 2021. These are the articles that we'll be dealing today. Why the Personal Data Protection Bill matters. With the COVID induced lockdown last year, there has been a significant push to the digital economy, and work from home has become mainstream for all the IT employees in our country. Education moved online, telemedicine became mainstream, and what this has actually done for the Indian user is it facilitated digital services which were hitherto considered to be unviable even in rural areas. But also it has done something for the companies which are providing these digital services as well. They significantly got the data of the users and their user behaviors were understood better. It is in this context it generated a debate with respect to the rights of the users who are producing this enormous amount of data, which the private companies are actually leveraging for better economic decisions. So, with the rise of this data as an important metric to drive the success of various companies somewhere down the line, here is what we have to understand. Recently, there have been a lot of news where the data of various companies which are offering these digital services are leaking out. We have had a scenario where LinkedIn data has been leaked a few days ago. After that, there was a data leak from MobiQuick company as well. We have had various instances where HDFC Bank details were leaked from its server. Similarly, Facebook, all these sort of instances brings us back to the question: if data has such a huge potential to influence user decisions, it is definitely going to be very important to safeguard it. Now, what is the framework in our country to safeguard it? The answer for this question is the Personal Data Protection Bill, which is under consideration of the Joint Parliamentary Committee. But is it really going to address all the issues? Is the question that is being asked. Right now, it is the IT Act 2000 which is actually supposed to safeguard the rights of the users in the present scheme of things. But the problem with this is it has enough provisions to bypass the legalities which are allowed under this act by placing them under terms of conditions. Terms and conditions is something that every user ignores and just ticks by agreeing to those terms and conditions, and within these terms and conditions is the user's consent to process personal data, which is again a very problematic issue. Now, what are the legal provisions to ensure that these sort of mechanisms are not resorted by companies? We have to create frameworks which ensure obligations on the digital service providers to ensure that the data is protected. This became all the more important in the context of the 2017 Puttaswamy judgment, where Supreme Court has declared that privacy is a part of Article 21, right to life. So, if you are actually violating this, we are actually violating the fundamental right to life, because we are violating the right to privacy as laid down by the Puttaswamy judgment. Now, in this case, what are the factors that the BN Sri Krishna committee suggested while drafting this personal data protection bill is something that we have to consider. Now, this is different from the IT Act of 2000 in the way that it is applicable not just for the government sector but also the private sector. That way, it is bringing accountability across different sectors. Secondly, what this particular bill emphasizes is the issue of data privacy by segregating the data into various categories. For example, personal data, non-personal data is a classification allowed under this particular act. Thirdly, the bill seeks to give a set of rights over their personal data, and what information can be processed by these digital service providers is clearly defined in this bill. The article also gives an example where the user will be able to obtain information about different kinds of personal data. The next thing is the Data Protection Authority, which will actually regulate the data processing activities and address any sort of data leaks as you have seen in the present scenario. So, given the benefits that this particular bill has, the author opines that this is a very good time for India to come out with this data protection bill and build upon it in the future if there are any issues. That is the gist of this article.
This article is taken from the Financial Express and it is titled A Boost to Research. So basically, in the backdrop of COVID vaccine hunt, we have realized how important R&D sector is for a country. But if you take a look at our country, we spend just around 0.69% of GDP on research and development activities. If you compare that with US and Germany, it is much less. In countries like Germany, they spend nearly 3% of GDP. Now, we have to understand that in absolute terms as well, our amount is quite low. Despite having the skilled workforce, what we are not able to ensure is give them enough facilities to carry out this research and development. The World Intellectual Property Organization's reports say that nearly more than 60% of R&D activities are taken up by the government. So, and most of the 60% funds go into a few areas like space, nuclear energy, and up to a certain extent biotechnology in the form of agriculture. So this shows that not only we are underspending, but also the emphasis is lopsided towards what is considered important for our economy. This warrants a reimagination of the need for R&D and how we can tap into private resources for improving the scene of research and development in our country. In this context, the new education policy is going to play a very important role. The new education policy or the National Education Policy 2020 has provided for a national research fund. Under its ambit, all the relevant stakeholders, namely industry, government, and academia, are involved in this. What this will ensure is a collaborative platform between all the stakeholders involved in R&D sector. This is a very good start. What needs to be done next is creation of IPRs, that is intellectual property rights. India is not known for protecting its intellectual property, and this is an opportunity to not only garner funds for research but also create an ecosystem where IPR is respected in our country. And when this is done, if IP laws are implemented very stringently, there is an incentive for the stakeholders to participate in this research. Otherwise, they would look to migrate to safe havens where their intellectual property rights are respected. So, this is the first priority. After this, what we can do is take the agenda of national education policy, wherein a multidisciplinary approach. This multidisciplinary approach should be encouraged across all sectors. For example, whatever may be the kind of innovation, it should have a certain social angle as well. It should try to address some sort of a social problem, and when such patents are created, they should be respected and protected by our government's backing. There should not be any sort of complacency on this front. When this is taken care of, the R&D situation will move ahead and it will trigger a long lasting effect on the entire education sector. India today is not known for its higher education and research. The very reason is because of lack of intellectual property rights protection, and at the same time, there is no incentive for innovators in our country. So that is the gist of this article.